What's up, Grizz Nation? Welcome into another Grizz Game Day update. Today, the Memphis Grizzlies are taking on the Toronto Raptors here at FedExForum. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. And Mike, you and I have talked about this. They've got a little bit, I'll say the Raptors have a lot going against them. The Grizzlies have a lot of momentum, hopefully pushing them forward. So let's talk about this. The Grizzlies coming off a big win in Utah. The Raptors are in their 5th game of a 6-game road trip. They are down a few bodies that I think Memphis would love to see play. Yuta is questionable. Precious is questionable. OG Anunoby, who is their leading scorer, is questionable. Kem Birch just got put into the questionable. And I know you probably talked to Dylan Brooks this morning. He said that he wants to play. He's a game time decision though. What do the Grizzlies got to do tonight? We want to start getting like a win streak going.
Yeah, and this is certainly an opportunity to do so, Kelcey, when you have 3 games at home during this Thanksgiving break right here, starting tonight against the Raptors, Friday against the Hawks, and then Sunday against the Sacramento Kings. 3 teams where you feel like they're in your wheelhouse. You should be able to build some momentum, and especially coming off of that magical performance that they had to close out the Utah Jazz with Jaren Jackson Jr. making the big shot, but Ja Morant making the great push and assist, and then Desmond Bane on the other end making the defensive stop against Donovan Mitchell. So you bottle that up and you bring that back home and you say, okay, let's distance ourselves as much as possible from that debacle in Minnesota and come back and get what you need to take care of business at home against a Raptors team, as you said, are dealing with a lot of injuries, a lot of guys questionable. I'm hoping that Dylan can get back there tonight. I know he's eager to play. He thought he was going to be able to play on Monday against Utah, but he wasn't able to get over that last hurdle. Hopefully he'll be out there tonight to sort of restore this lineup as well.
Yeah, and this is the story of 2 struggling defenses. The Grizzlies and the Raptors both kind of bottom of the pack really in defensive rating. The difference is though, Mike, is that the Raptors are not a great offensive team right now. They are not scoring a lot. They had a game where they had 88 points. Their last 3 games have been just over 100, whereas the Grizzlies are scoring in the 100 and teens almost consistently. That was a weird way to say that. 110 or more consistently is what I was trying to say.
It made sense. It made sense. I did the translation. I caught it. 100 and teens. I like that.
And so I think today the Grizzlies really had to do a good job at defending the perimeter, because a lot of their scoring is, if OG Anunoby plays, he's the leading scorer. He's a guard-ish. And then they got a good backcourt with Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, one of the best rookies so far in this class. And so I think stopping the perimeter and then everything else should roll into the Grizzlies. This is such a basketball thing to say, good defense turns into good offense. We say that over and over, but it could not be more true when it comes to this Grizzlies team.
You're absolutely right. And then you're coming off a game again. I go back to the Utah game. The Grizzlies outscored the Jazz by 20 points in points off turnovers in transition. So when you look at what you can do in terms of protecting the basketball and causing teams to turn the basketball over, that creates opportunities to get guys going, to get guys in breaks. And there's no faster guy from one end to the other than Ja Morant, who, by the way, also happens to lead the league in paint points as a point guard. So what do you want to do if you're the Memphis Grizzlies? Get into the paint, not necessarily, and the Grizzlies can do it in a couple of different ways. They can get in the paint with Steven Adams, and, a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. certainly can get in there and do some damage. But they also use Ja Morant as sort of a paint presence to spray the ball out to other shooters and things of that nature while he penetrates in. So that's going to be key. On the other side, the paint has to be dominated by the Grizzlies' ability to rebound the basketball. Toronto doesn't have an imposing front line at all. I think the Grizzlies can be more physical in this game, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing Jaren Jackson build off the confidence boost that he had the other night by hitting that big shot. What did you see from particularly Jaren, and then in terms of what your keys will be?
I think Jaren has a really good opportunity tonight to play off of mismatch situations, because the Raptors don't have someone, and I mean, not a lot of teams have this because we call them the unicorn for something. They don't necessarily have someone who can play, the 4-5 and also be stretched out to like a very stretched 3, the way that Jaren plays in the 4 position. And especially if OG Anunoby is not playing tonight, I think it's going to make the Raptors defense very, very almost unguardable when it comes to JJ's position. So I think he's going to have himself a night, especially if OG is not playing. I think my key is just coming down to defense. It really is. If you can defend this Raptors team, who is not a high scoring team, the Grizzlies offense has shown that they can score, and there's your game.
That is your game. That is your game. And for the Grizzlies right now, they had a stretch where for about 2 weeks, they were completely healthy. Now they're getting back to, sort of trying to patch mill the rotation. But one thing that came out that I saw in the rotation at the end of the Utah game You talk about rookie in terms of Barnes being an impact rookie. Zaire Williams is definitely gaining more and more opportunities in this rotation. He closed out the game in Salt Lake City by making plays defensively and also being that stretch threat for a spray, corner shooter. So look for Zaire to continue his progress in terms of being an impact player in this rotation. He's ready. He told me, look, everybody expected me to be a project coming to this season, but I wanted to produce. And it's good to see the young guy producing, and Taylor Jenkins is rewarding him with that confidence. So that's another guy I want to look out for tonight.
Yes, Zaire, let's go. My two stats that I'm just going to put out here, percentage-wise, just for our little stat heads watching. The Raptors are one of the bottom in the league allowing opponents to shoot. They're allowing their opponents to shoot 47%. The Grizzlies, obviously, I hope that they can take advantage of that and have a big offensive night. On the flip, though, the Raptors get a lot of their rebounds from the offensive end because they are shooting not at a high percentage. Their offense is just not clicking right now. They're missing a ton of shots, but they are getting a lot of offensive rebounds. So that's going to be another key that I didn't mention, is to kind of like close out defensive possessions, grab the rebound, move on.
Yes, absolutely. You're talking about limiting their second chance points, because they're not a good first shot team, but they certainly are giving themselves extra possessions and extra opportunities. The Grizzlies have to dominate that, mitigate that as best as possible, and then put 2 wins together. And I think that can start a nice little streak here going into this Thanksgiving break.
2, and then 3, and then 4, and then however many games we have left. No more L's. That would be nice, but that's crazy. Okay, today's game tips off at 7 o'clock here at FedExForum. Like I said, you can come hang out with Mike and I and Ja and Jaron and Zaire and the gang. Get your tickets at 901-888-HOOP. You can watch on TV at Bally Sports Southeast or listen at the radio's ESPN 92.9 and follow all of our social channels at MemGrizz.